I'm curious to hear about basketball, though. You talk about basketball, like what it meant to your development athletically in your life, or have you got any good stories? I love the game, and I wish I had played on an organized team when I was younger. Yeah, Caleb, this is my true love. You know, this weightlifting thing that I'm doing now that you guys are watching, that's very much not my first love. This is something that I fell into afterwards. But I came to Australia in 1998. I was 9 years old. And, back in Yugoslavia, in Serbia, we played soccer all the time, as is usually the sport, the most dominant sport over there, although basketball is also very popular. But we played soccer all the time. And when we couldn't play soccer, we played basketball. It was kind of like that. We come to Australia and everyone here is like, oh, there's no ozone layer here. You're going to get sunburned, you're going to get skin cancer. So people were kind of like telling us all about this. I think there was a craze in Australia about like sun health and skin health rather. And so my parents were like, okay, going out in the middle of the day to play soccer like you did overseas. So we stopped doing that for the most part. It kind of killed our soccer vibes, or football vibes as you call it in Europe. And so then we started playing soccer, basketball. I was like 10, 11 years old. Joined a club that put me in Division 5, because my parents can't speak English. So I just literally rocked up to the stadium and my dad like somehow indicated to them that I've got this kid that wants to play basketball. Started playing basketball. I spent like 3 or 4 games, I think, 3 or 4 or 5 games out in Division 5. I was scoring like 20, 25 points a game. No real skill, like just raw speed, foot speed. And then like after 4 or 5 games, the coach put me in Division 2 straight away. And he's like, this kid can run, he's athletic, he can defend at bare minimum. So I started playing in Division 2 pretty much straight away. That's what I tell my kids all the time, and like everyone around that asks me, athleticism will get you basically 90% of the way to professional sports. We all know examples of people that play top level sports. They don't actually know how to play the game. Like if you think about people like Dennis Rodman, and there's a host of other people, they can't dribble, they can't shoot, they can't pass, but he's fit as hell and he can out-jump you, outrun you, out-hustle you, more fitter than you. So that's kind of my ticket into like, higher levels of junior basketball. And I basically spend the rest of my time playing basketball, either Division 1 or Division 2, depends on if I was first year in that grade or second year. And that was always my thing. I was very quick on my feet. I think soccer gave me that, footwork, and so I did that. I tried out for state once to make the state team. I didn't make it. I played against some very, very good people, very, very good basketballers that went on and played professional, not basketball, not like NBA level, but they played either, let's call it professional in Australia and in Europe, and some even in South America. So I played with people, grew up with people that ended up doing something with basketball. I gave up basketball at 20. I realized it wasn't going to happen for me. I remember specifically one training session I was playing with the first team. I was training with the first team and I was in the reserves of the men's first team of this club. And this particular training session, a few of the fellas that were playing for the 36ers, I'll never forget, I'll say his name, Matt Sutton. Matt Sutton came to train with the Forest team here in Adelaide. Forest was kind of like one of the better clubs, if not the best club in Adelaide. And I'll never forget, like he was there, we were chatting it up, we were putting our shoes on before the training session, and we were kind of talking, and I was like, what are you doing here, kind of thing, like, aren't you 36ers? He played, I think, a few seasons for the 36ers. He was a starting point guard for them. Big guy, man, like 6'5", type of height, maybe even 6'6". Very, very tall guy, point guard. And I'm here like 6'1", barely, playing the same position. And that training session, like I was amazed how good he was. Absolutely amazed. I think Matt at the time was like 26, 27. And that training session really flipped my world upside down, man, because I was like, there's no way in hell I'll ever be that good. And I'm 20. And sort of the level between me and him is just huge. He's getting fired from his contract, from his job, and I'm not even near that level. And so at that point, I was like, all right, I'm like in my second year of nursing undergrad. I think I was 20. Yeah, that's right. Something like that. 19, 20, something like that. I can't exactly remember. I know specifically I was in my second year of uni. And I was like, or just before my third year of uni, actually. Yeah, that's right. So about 20. And yeah, I went home that night and I had a really, really hard think about everything. And I was like, okay, either I'm going to be real about myself with this, or I'm going to continue on and push into my mid-20s trying to make a league here in Australia that is not going to pay more than nursing as it is. I've heard so many stories of people, one particular guy who ended up working in the same hospital as me. He ended up turning down a professional contract, men's, like basically NBL contract. He ended up turning that down because nursing paid him more. So like back then, people used to get like 30, 40 grand to play 36s, that kind of thing. And nursing, first year salary of nursing is like 65, 70, shift work and whatever. I remember sitting there thinking to myself, what am I doing, man? Like, this is everything I ever wanted to do. I always wanted to be a professional basketball player, but I'm a small guy. Let's be honest, man. I'm small. Yeah, I'm fast and I can move, but this is a tall man's game. And I could shoot the ball, but I wasn't like that. I wasn't that level. And I went home that day, and this is, so this is the second season. This is the second season of me playing in reserves for this club. And the first season, I basically rode the bench hard. Played occasionally, but I rode the bench. I was kind of that guy that comes in and will pick you up for 94 feet, pressure you, go hard, and then he'll take me out after like 6-7 minutes, that kind of thing, 5 minutes. And so the second season, I'm like, okay, sweet, I'm gonna make my time here. I'm really gonna, give him more minutes, and something might happen. But then the following season, another kid come into the ranks, a fella called Adam Doyle. Now, Adam Doyle was even shorter than me, but he was like, for you Australians, he was like a footy player. He was either going to play AFL, he was actually really good, or he was going to play basketball. He chose basketball. And so he comes onto the scene, and I'm like, he's younger than me for a year. He's shorter than me. He can't shoot like me, but he can run. He can really, really run. Another thing about athleticism and fitness. He could really, really run. And so my thing was running and speed and whatever. But here's a guy that's even shorter than me and even much more fitter than me. He's a footy player, on-baller, like rover type of player. And he couldn't shoot, he couldn't, dribble, he couldn't do anything basketball related, but my God, he could run. And so he would literally get the rebound from the big man and he would run. It's like a track meet every time he's on. And he would change the game, like the pace of the game would change. And he was really good, he was better than me. And that really kind of like freaking, not pissed me off, but like, I was like, okay, so this is another piece of evidence that I'm not good enough here. Adam goes on to play the 36ers and he has like, I don't know how many years in the NBL. He plays professionally, I'll be lying here, probably 5-6 years or something like that. He played for my hometown, 36ers, a few seasons. Adam Doyle was a good player, right? So that was kind of one of the reasons why. So seeing Matt Sutton and seeing Adam Doyle was kind of like the last points of me. I was like, okay, I'm not good enough here. I don't want to be riding the bench. Huge time commitment. I'm training 2 or 3 times a week, riding the bench once a week in this game. And I just basically gave it up. I was just like, okay. I called the coach one day and I was like, mate, I'm not going to come to the next training session. I think I'm going to hang him up here and I'll just focus on my nursing career and trying to get a better score and so I can get a job. And that was it. And for the following couple of years, I was not depressed, but I was kind of lost, right? Like you've gone from something that you've given everything to now having nothing. And it was essentially, what do I do? And for the first couple of years, I would go to the gym with a couple of mates and like do biceps or whatever machines. Like I didn't really know anything. And then like social media started taking off there. I started nursing in 2010. Social media started taking off. So this is 2013, 2014. The fitness community on YouTube started picking up and I started to get, absorb some of this stuff, powerlifting, weightlifting, strongman. I'm watching these videos and I'm like, I saw Clarence Kennedy. That was kind of the first exposure that I was like, oh, that guy looks natural. Like that's pretty cool. What about steroids? Da, da, da. I started learning all of this stuff, and then I was kind of like, okay, let me go to the gym and like try this squat business and try the deadlift business. And I was literally had like 2 green plates on the bar, like very nothing, like nothing. Basketball players generally have really stiff ankles, stiff hips. So I didn't have any internal rotation of the hips. I didn't have any dorsiflexion. I was terrible. And that's kind of how I started. It was a social media driven thing. And slowly over time, I filled this basketball void that was left with this stuff. And then around 25, I started living with my missus at 23. And we were both going to the gym, all the time. She was paying $1,000 at this place called Anytime Fitness. I don't know if Anytime Fitness exists anywhere else in the world where you guys are, but I was paying $1,000 for Anytime Fitness. She was paying $1,000. We were living together, and I said to her one day, like, what the hell? Why are we paying $2,000 a year? Sorry, $1,000 a year. Why are we paying $2,000 a year? Like, we live together. Why don't we just take this money, quit the memberships, and buy a squat rack and stuff like this? And so that was basically the starting point, like 24, 25. After about a year and a half of living together, we go to this store, gym equipment store, and we bought a squat rack that you guys know that you always see me in, a barbell. We bought an incline bench, and we bought, I think that was about it, and some plates, very small amounts of plates. And then we started training at home out of the garage, and then that was really the turning point. I really started getting excited about having a gym at home, and that's kind of where it all started for me. But the basketball was what I wanted to do, but I ran out of time. I wasn't good enough. And then after I quit playing basketball and as I started training like in my middle to late 20s, I did play like social basketball. I played for the Serbian club here as well, which is kind of like a social. We had a couple of competitions like in the Serbian festivals, Sydney, Melbourne. Like I traveled with those boys and I played with some of the really good players as well, but they were a little bit older at that point. And yeah, I kind of did that. And then at some point I rolled both my ankles a year apart. So I rolled one, rolled the other, and both were like severe injuries. So I broke a bone in my foot the first time around. I was in a moon boot for about 6 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it was. And then a year later, I go back playing social, pick up ball like 3-on-3 with my mates, some randoms. And bang, fucking ankle goes again. Another non-contact injury after a jump shot. Fucking again, boom. Like I'm off work for another like 4 weeks. Like another, destruction of the ankle. Like several different ligaments popped off, and that was it. And that, since then I was like, okay, fuck basketball. Like I can't afford to have that much sick leave from work. I've got a little one at home now. Like I can't blow my sick leave on this basketball thing that I'm doing now. And so I never used to like have injuries in basketball ever until I started powerlifting. For some reason, like that heavy powerlifting, squatting, deadlifting made my body just much weaker in terms of ankle rolls, and I just became less coordinated. I put on a bit of size, and I became much less athletic. I became very unathletic. Like I would roll ankles as a junior, like when I was 20 and even earlier, and I would just run them off. But now with like me working on this dorsiflexion, wearing the Olympic weightlifting shoes all the time, my ankles became stiffer. I became less pliable, and I just started, probably got to do with the hip fatigue. A lot of people say when you roll your ankle, when you keep rolling your ankles, it's something got to do with your hip. And that makes sense. Like I remember I used to like do squatting sessions 5x5, strong lifts or 5x5, mad cow. I can't remember all the other stuff I used to do. Texas method, all that stuff. I was doing 5x5. So your hips are destroyed, and then you go play basketball and you got this like fatigued hips. You're trying to like weave through traffic, and so probably my fatigued hips led to my ankles popping off. And essentially, basically at 25, I was still playing basketball. Or not even 25, 27 probably. Oh, that's right. When my son was born, a few weeks after my first son was born, that's kind of when I had a big ankle injury, and that's when I stopped playing basketball officially, at 27. that's kind of the whole journey. My God, I've given you a whole spiel there. The whole journey of how I got into powerlifting and bodybuilding and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't because I always wanted to do that. I essentially picked it up at 25. And it was to fill the void of basketball. And to this day, just so you know, I watch the NBA, I follow the NBA, I love it. And I think one of the things that I love about this is that this kind of gives me that feeling like I train every day like I would be if I was in the NBA. It kind of fills that void of, okay, I'm not a professional athlete. I don't get money from anybody for this, but I can still kind of like, do the things that I would be doing if I was a professional athlete. Not to say that I'll be powerlifting, but like I'm still putting in the time, the lifestyle, let's say, or somewhat, maybe a quarter of the lifestyle that a professional athlete lives. And so no matter what happens, I think that's kind of what's left behind after training all of this time for a sport that I failed in. What's left behind it is the habits that I established, chasing that dream. Now I've got these, habits, People are like, how can you squat every day? Dude, like before I squatted every day, I used to run every day. If it wasn't running every day, like I'd be stretching all the time. It was constantly work when you're trying to break into the professional realms of a sport. Like you're constantly working. You don't have a day off. The days off is stretching or running or working on your dribble or the next day or your foul shooting. It's right, like, okay, now I'm doing everything all the time, the same thing, squatting, but I guarantee you, this is what people don't understand. Like, professional athletes are not there because they sit on their ass 4 days of the week, man. Which is interesting for me. Like, a lot of people want to be professional powerlifters, right? But they're talking about training 3 days a week. Like, what the fuck is that, dude? That is not what professionals do, man. Professionals train every single day. They might not be squatting every day, but they're working on soft tissues. They're working on, it's constant work, dude. Anyway, whatever. I think what's left behind is this habit, and it's awesome. All right, let me crank out one set here. Finish off the day with a nice little stretch on this bloody good machine.